YNW Melly Retrial, a deep dive into the legal battle. Jamell Demons, known as rapper YNW Melly, is set to face a retrial for the 2018 murders of Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr. The victims were not just acquaintances, they were childhood friends and fellow members of the YNW hip-hop collective. The first trial ended in a mistrial in July 2023, leaving many questions unanswered. Now, the legal system prepares for a second attempt to determine Melly's fate. Give a like and subscribe. Leave a comment. On October 26, 2018, Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr. were killed. Demons is accused of being the perpetrator. The initial trial was closely watched, but the jury was unable to reach a unanimous verdict. This deadlock led to a mistrial, setting the stage for the upcoming retrial. The retrial is scheduled to commence on September 10th. Is convicted, Demons could face the death penalty. This possibility adds immense weight to the proceedings. The stakes are incredibly high for all parties involved. Before the retrial, Melly's legal team is seeking his release from jail. They argue that his prolonged isolation constitutes extreme mental abuse. The defense claims he has been denied contact with family, friends, and business managers. This isolation, they argue, hinders his ability to manage his affairs and income streams. A hearing on this motion is scheduled for May 6th. The defense emphasizes the impact of this isolation. He has not had any contact with the outside world in 3 years, they state. Mr. Demons remains to this day a lucrative recording artist with streams of incomes. The defense further argues that Melly's inability to communicate with his team has dire consequences. He cannot contact his managers or accountants. As a result, he has lost any control over anything he has. They also highlight his lack of contact with loved ones. Mr. Demons has not been allowed to talk to his mother, siblings, or friends, the defense notes. The conditions of his confinement are also under scrutiny. Mr. Demons is not allowed to speak to other inmates in the jail, and over a year ago, a sheet was put over his cell door so no other inmates can look at him when they walk by, the motion argues. The defense concludes by asserting Melly's continued fight for justice. Mr. Demons continues to defend his constitutional rights to justice and liberty. The prosecution alleges that Melly and Cortland YNW Bortland Henry fatally shot Williams and Thomas Jr. They claim the scene was staged to look like a drive-by shooting after a recording session. The prosecution asserts that Melly shot the victims inside a vehicle. Henry then allegedly shot the car from the outside to create the illusion of an attack. Ballistics evidence is a key component of the prosecution's case. They believe it supports their claim that the victims were shot inside the vehicle. The prosecution's narrative paints a picture of premeditation and deception. The defense maintains that the victims were close friends of Melly. They highlight the absence of the murder weapon. The defense argues that the prosecution's claims lack credibility. They suggest alternative interpretations of the evidence. Melly also faces witness tampering charges related to the first trial. He is accused of obstructing a key witness's testimony. These charges add another layer of complexity to the case. The prosecution alleges that Melly, along with Henry and Broward County Jail inmate Terrence Mathis, engaged in witness tampering. Prosecutors claim Melly is a member of the Blood Street Gang. They allege he used phone calls and letters to communicate with Blood members on the streets. These members, according to prosecutors, ensured that a key witness did not testify. Mariah Hamilton, Melly's former girlfriend, is now slated to testify for the state. She failed to appear at the initial trial. Her testimony could be crucial to the prosecution's case. Hamilton's absence from the first trial was a violation of a judge's order. Ravon Liberty, Melly's lead attorney, is under investigation by the Broward County Sheriff's Office. This investigation adds another layer of complexity to the case. The investigation is reportedly related to tampering with evidence charges filed against Demons. However, the specific activities under investigation remain unclear. Demons has turned to federal court in a bid to secure his release. His lawyers filed a writ of habeas corpus petition. The petition accuses Broward County Sheriff Gregory Toney and the Sheriff's Office of egregious violations of his civil rights. The petition alleges that sheriff's officials violated Demons' rights by not allowing him family visitations or phone calls to his lawyers. Attorneys for Sheriff Gregory Toney argue that Demons is seeking relief in the wrong court. They state that he has not exhausted his remedies in state court. They also argue that any restrictions placed on Demons' confinement were implemented for legitimate security and safety concerns. The attorneys noted that Demons' restrictions relate to separate criminal charges he faces in a witness tampering case. When the murders happened, Demons was rising in the hip-hop industry. He gained rap fame with his song Murder on My Mind. He collaborated with Ye, formerly known as Kanye West, on the song Mixed Personalities. He also released a remix with Juice WRLD on his song Suicidal. Cortland Yenwy Bortland Henry faces up to life in prison if convicted in a separate trial. He was arrested in Texas and extradited to Broward County. Demons surrendered in Broward County a day later. The two cases are intertwined, but each defendant will face their own legal battle. The retrial of YNW Melly is a complex case with numerous legal and personal dimensions. The outcome will have significant implications for all involved. The world watches as the legal system attempts to deliver justice.